I'm here with Phil Schreier, Senior Curator of the NRA's National Firearms Museum, for another installment of the Curator's Corner. Phil, thanks for being in studio and once again bringing so many neat things for us to look at. And right away, I recognize this as the grease gun, but it's tell us the official name and tell us all about this fantastic firearm.
John, thanks again for having us here. It is called the grease gun. It's its nickname. Its nomenclature is actually the M3 submachine gun, US M3, and it was developed in World War II. Once the war actually started, we were kind of left a little short on supplying the guys with machine guns. Colt, Savage, and Auto Ordnance were producing Thompson 45s, but they were very expensive and took a while to actually manufacture. So it was thought, what about a gun similar to the British Sten? Something that's really not cheaply made, but inexpensive to make, not as well machined, say, as a Tommy gun. And can we get that 45 caliber to go? And
can we get a couple million of them?
Yeah, why not? So they turned to, of all places, General Motors, the Inland Division of General Motors, to manufacture this gem. It's actually one of my favorite guns of World War II. It's called the grease gun because this part of the gun looks like an old greasing can that you used to use. Even a caulking gun,
right?
As it went into the 70s. But originally they would, the old Fords and General Motors cars had these little pin valves on them that you would go up to them and you'd squirt the grease in there. And so they manufactured this. It's stamped metal. There's only 3 parts that are actually machined: the bolt and the barrel there. And the firing mechanism are actually machine parts. The rest are all just stamped and spot welded.
I was going to say, you see some crude welding around the whole thing, but crude but effective.
Yeah, very effective. It's a 45 caliber. It has a cyclic rate of about 450 rounds a minute, which is pretty slow. You can write your name with it if you know what you're doing.
Phil, you could write your name with it.
Nice 2 versions of this. The earliest here has the cocking, lever right there like that. The next one, you just literally stuck your finger in there and pulled back to
wow.
To just eliminate some more parts. One interesting aspect about this is that you can pull out the
there you go.
The shoulder stock, and there's some fittings here on the right here at the end. I don't know if you guys can see them at home yet or not. Right there at the end, it's threaded so that you can put cleaning attachments on it. Put a cleaning jag, and it works as the.
That's very clever.
It works as the cleaning rod for the barrel. There's 2 notches cut here into the side so that you can use that to take the barrel off of the gun actually. It works out. There's a lot of different uses. Eventually, there was a little lug put on here that even allowed you to speed load the magazine.
So even something as simple to produce and inexpensive, but it's still by design very elegant. There's a lot of stuff going on here.
There is. We'll look at the other side here. You got some nice, the stamping from General Motors there on the side. It's a quaint little gun. It's not very heavy. It weighs 8 pounds. Has an 8-inch barrel. The fixed sights. You're not going to do any marksmanship training with it, but it's pretty effective at close range. And unlike the Thompson, this gun stayed in inventory until the 1990s. This was still commonly used for tank crews all the way through Desert Storm.
Yeah, which is neat. When we talk about different types of firearms here on Curator's Corners, you can go anywhere from a custom-made, shotgun, we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, to something like this, and then you even had other guns that were just simply stamped guns, almost made to be thrown away, but they're just as effective and as loved by people because they all have made their particular mark in history.
They did, and this one was favored by parachute troops, OSS guys. You know, it was and pilots because it was something that was easily sealed and well, maybe not pilots, but I mean, you know, flight crews and stuff
Right.
like that, tank crews especially.
You say you had the collapsible, very clever collapsible
Yeah.
stock there. It's really neat. It can easily be concealed. I guess to let people know back then, because you're talking about General Motors doing this, but back then during World War II, everybody was doing war production. General Motors, and tell us a little bit about it, because I know what else they produce there. Tanks.
Oh, they produced tanks, all kinds of trucks, vehicles. The Liberator pistol was a General Motors product. The War Industry Board got all the automobile manufacturers stopped making cars for civilian sale in 1942. So right off the bat, civilian auto sales were halted in April. So you had to get through the rest of the war with what you had, because Ford and Chevy or Ford and GM, Dodge, they all went to work on building tanks and other things.
And even things like tires and stuff, that they're making so many of them for production, for war production vehicles. For a car, you had trouble finding tire other than, you know, raw materials as well.
Yeah, those were rationed. You had placards in your windows for, you know, what days you could buy gasoline. You were rationed gasoline, food stamps, all kinds of things. Few people today really realize exactly how much of a concerted effort everybody made to the war effort back then.
I was going to say, just to realize what it took to take companies like General Motors and go to retool from producing automobiles to even producing something like that, is because the cost is in the tooling. It's an enormous project. It must have been to switch over to grease guns and tanks and things like that for them to do that. Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about where this lives out at the National Firearms Museum, because I know there's some great displays on World War II stuff out there at the National Firearms Museum.
We have this in our World War II gallery, and it also was used, in Vietnam as well, so in Korea. So we've got a couple of them represented in different eras.
So how long was this produced and used?
Well, it was only produced up through the end of the war, but they made 600,000 of them, so they kind of kicked around in inventory for a while.
So they just, as far as the services involved, this is still a good, viable firearm. Let's keep using it all the way through Vietnam.
Sure.
And Korea. Wow.
And like I said, there were still some in tank crews all the way through Desert Storm.
Wow.
So it's at the National Firearms Museum, 7 days a week. 9:30 to 5 until 7:30 on Saturdays.
Great. Well, Phil, thank you for bringing out this gem from the National Firearms Museum, and we'll see you next time for Curator's Corner.
Thanks very much, John.